Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Happy to welcome you all to the resumption of our weekly Qur'an exploration sessions. Inshallah, this will go on every week in this room, 11 a.m. If you don't know me, my name is Musab Kazi. I am the current Brothers Education Chair for the Muslim Student Association here. If you attended last year, our sessions, you're probably familiar with Brother Malik, who's usually giving these. Inshallah, you'll see him around also. So you'll see me, you'll see him, and we'll get these going, inshallah. For today, we're not actually going to go directly into any ayat or any surah of the Qur'an, like we did last year during the sessions. For today, we're just going to go into an introduction of what is the Qur'an, why do we believe in the Qur'an, and what should we do with it? What are we supposed to take away from the Qur'an? So to start very, very basically, we want to just talk about what the word Qur'an means, not even from an Islamic perspective. Just from a linguistic point of view in Arabic, the word Qur'an means something or a book that has been read or recited. Right? These words that we use when we talk about Islam, Salah, Qur'an, Sunnah, these words are already Arabic words. They already have their linguistic meanings. They gain these other meanings in a context of Islam when we're using them. So the Qur'an, in our context as Muslims, from a Shari'i point of view, the Qur'an is the literal and direct word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is the speech of the creator of the universe. The literal direct speech of the creator of the heavens and the earth. That is what the Qur'an is. And the Qur'an's language, as we know, is in Arabic. The Qur'an is only in Arabic. In any other language, we no longer can consider it the Qur'an. We can call it the translated meaning of the Qur'an, an explanation of the Qur'an, a commentary on it. But the Qur'an on its own is only in Arabic. And that language of the Qur'an in Arabic is unlike any other piece of writing in Arabic that you will ever witness, that anyone has ever witnessed. And that is why the Qur'an in itself is something miraculous. The language of the Qur'an is in itself something miraculous. It is something that no one can match. It is something that no one has ever matched. The linguistic beauty of the Qur'an, its eloquence, is not something that anyone can produce anything like. And in the Qur'an itself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala challenges humanity to produce something like it. In Surah Hud, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أم يقولون افتراه قل فأتوا بعشر سور مثله مفتريات وادعوا من استطعتم من دون الله إن كنتم صادقين. The translated meaning of the ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, or do they say he invented it? Say then bring 10 surahs like it that have been invented and call upon for assistance whomever you can besides Allah, if you should be truthful. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala repeats a similar ayah in Surah Yunus, where he mentions to bring just one surah like it. In the previous ayah I recited, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is challenging humanity, bring 10 surahs like the ones in the Qur'an. Now he's asking, just bring one. Just bring one surah like it to prove that this Qur'an is not miraculous. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is challenging all of humanity to prove that the Qur'an is not miraculous. And that, as we've seen in history, many people have tried. Maybe if you know from the time of the Sahaba, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there are people like Musaylimah Kadhab, for example, who claim to be a prophet. They came with surahs, they came with ayat that they claim could match the Qur'an. Until this day, no professor, no government, no Arabic speaker, teacher, anyone has ever written anything that matched the level of the Qur'an in its eloquence and its linguistic beauty. So till this day, that has given us the confidence and the proof of Islam. This has given us the reason to have a conviction in Islam. And in this, and through this proof and the strength of Islam in the Qur'an, we realize that this is directly linked to our aqidah as Muslims. It is directly linked to our creed, our foundation, the foundation of everything we believe in Islam. It all stems from our belief in the Qur'an. To have a strong aqidah in Islam, there are three fundamental things we must understand and believe in. One is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. The second is belief in the Qur'an as the direct word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the third would be belief in Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as his final messenger. Belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as one is something that an individual does rationally. This is something that we think about. This is something we can understand, right? We don't go to the Qur'an to say we're going to prove Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists because it says so in the Qur'an. This reasoning is circular, right? This is not reasoning we use to prove the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm not going to go too much into this because it's off the topic of the session, but that is one of the fundamental aspects of the Aqidah. The second and third part I mentioned, where I want to focus on, is we must believe in the Qur'an as the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we must believe in Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as his final messenger. And in order to believe these things, we must have a reason to do so. We cannot just go into the Qur'an, read it, decide that we like it, therefore it is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We must have a reason to prove beyond a doubt that this is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what I had just previously mentioned about the linguistic beauty of the Qur'an. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has challenged humanity to produce something similar to it. Until this day, no one has. We need something miraculous in nature to prove Islam. We know from the previous prophet stories, every prophet brought a miracle to his people. Every prophet was able to show his people a miracle, show his people that he was somebody extraordinary, or had Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on his side who was supporting him. We don't have that today. We know Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the final messenger. We don't have a prophet to show us a miracle. This is why the Qur'an was in itself the miracle that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It was a miracle for the rest of mankind, not just for his people. The other prophets had miracles that were just for their people, just for their nations. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam a miracle that lasts for the rest of mankind through the Qur'an itself. And once we go through these ideas of how to rationalize that the Qur'an is the truth, how to understand that the Qur'an is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the next step is, what do we do after that? Right? We might understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one, we might understand that the Qur'an is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but what comes after that? We know that the Qur'an is an intellectually proven miracle. We know that it's an essential, foundational part of Islam. But we do more than just reading the Qur'an. Us learning the Qur'an does not stop there. We've heard many times before, there is a reward in just reading the Qur'an. This is a fact. We read the Qur'an, we memorize the Qur'an, there's a lot of reward in this. It's even considered a ibadah, it's an act of worship, just to read the Qur'an in Arabic. This is an act of worship. But we don't stop there. We don't stop at reading and reciting. The Qur'an is for much more than this. The Qur'an is to be learned. We must comprehend it. We must understand it. We must go into the Qur'an and learn what we are reading. We must start to learn the Arabic language so we can start to understand what we read as we're going through it. But once again, it doesn't stop there. We don't just stop at understanding the Qur'an. We don't just stop at comprehending the Qur'an. We must also make an effort to implement the Qur'an in our lives. We must make an effort to implement Qur'an in every aspect of our life. The Qur'an is for our own individual lives. It is for how we interact with others. It is for our societies. The Qur'an is not something that we turn into just a personal ibadah, a personal act of worship. This is not what Islam came as. Islam did not come as a deen of personal ibadah. Right? To even say that is a contradiction in itself. The word deen is not something personal. A deen is a way of life. A deen is a system of life. A deen goes through every aspect of our lives, from our individual selves, our relationship with the Creator. Our deen discusses how we interact with each other, how we interact with society, as well as how we interact with ourselves. This is very different from just believing in Islam as something personal, that we just pray salah, that we just fast, we read Qur'an on our own. Islam did not come like this. Islam came as something to be implemented came something to be implemented throughout our lives in every aspect, not just through our prayers. And that is why when we study the Qur'an, we actually see these things throughout it. We know there's two groups of surahs, two groups of ayat in the Qur'an. There are the Makki ayat and the Madani ayat. There are ayat that were revealed in Mecca and revealed in Medina. And we look into the types of topics covered in each of these ayat, we start to really understand how the Qur'an covers all these topics for every facet of our lives. In the Makki ayat, we see that the ayat revealed in Mecca focused on the fundamentals of Islam. They focused on basic belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, belief in Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as the final messenger. It commands us to perform salah. They teach us to be truthful, to be honest, and other teachings of the like. The Madani ayat, the ones revealed in Medina, on the other hand, have a very different focus. The ayat revealed in Medina focus on the ahkam. They focus on the rulings that Muslims need to follow. The ayat revealed in Medina, for example, cover topics like mu'amalat, transactions, right? Buying, selling, renting, usury, interest. Islam covers these topics of economics. Islam covers all of these different topics. The Madani ayat also cover topics like the hudud, the punishment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed in the Qur'an for certain crimes. These are the types of ayat that were in the Madani, revealed during Medina, the time in Medina. So we see a very different type of topics covered throughout the Quran depending on where the ayat were revealed. And when we take all these together in context, we realize the comprehensive nature of Islam that we learn through the Quran. That Islam is not something that just stops at the individual level, but something we implement in every part of our lives. And as we continue to look into these topics, we see that there are, one of the biggest things to notice is just that there are so many of them. There are so many topics, so many different ideas covered in the Quran, and it takes a lot of work to read into them, to learn them. And that's why we are holding these sessions here, alhamdulillah, with the MSA. We will be having these sessions weekly moving forward, where we will not just do, this one is more like an introduction. Inshallah, moving forward, we will go into specific ayat, specific short surahs of the Quran. We'll read directly from some of the tafsir, some of the commentary on these ayat from past scholars. And in this way, we learn to not only learn from these ayat, but also understand them. We also understand them, and we also implement them, instead of just leaving the Quran as something that we just recite without understanding. This is the biggest takeaway point that we want to start our weekly sessions off with, is that the Quran is not something that we just read. It is much more than that. The Quran, we read it, we recite it, and we implement it. And I've repeated that many, many times because that is the main focus we're trying to get across here. And inshallah, this introductory session will be a little bit shorter than the future ones will do. So we will conclude here. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all among those who implement the teaching of the Quran in our lives. If anybody has any questions over the brief topics I discussed, or how the session will work moving forward, feel free to ask them now. Or if you just have any comments you want to share.